Welcome, everyone, and good morning from beautiful Bali Rica on the southwest coast of Pacific coast of Costa Rica. For those of you who are watching this at home, we're glad you're here. We welcome everyone, and our opening meditation will be guided by Lisa Virtue.
Welcome all creatures.
The what?
Hi, Boudreaux. Okay. All right, so today we're going to do actually a silent meditation, which we haven't been doing online because it just seems funny for video. But now that we're gathered with more people, I think we can start that again. So let's close our eyes and begin with just bringing your hands onto your heart, flat onto your heart. And acknowledging yourself for being here now, for the effort it took, for the decision to ultimately nurture yourself in this way. And just offer yourself a bit of gratitude. Release your hands. And take a couple of big, deep inhales and long exhales, or sigh out any energies that built up in getting here and talking to others, or just that part of the day. We're going to leave that behind. And now we bring our awareness to our breath, the tool that is always present with us, no matter where we are. And we use that focus to give our minds a job, a small task, to keep them busy so that the rest of us can be in peaceful repose, peaceful meditation. And so the very beginning place to focus your breath would be to feel it coming in and out of your nostrils. Just the sensation of that. Maybe you notice your nostrils expanding as you inhale. A step further would be noticing the sensation of the air on your upper lip as you exhale and as it's drawn across in the inhale. It's very subtle. You may notice a temperature difference with the exhale being warmer. And you can stay with this meditation for years and years if you like. You could also follow the breath in to your body, down into your lungs, and as it spills through your entire system, noticing the different subtle layers of what effects that inhale and exhale have. And so with that, we'll just sit quietly, noticing our breath. awareness back into the forefront. Take a couple of deep breaths. And when you're ready, open your eyes and bring that peace with you into the day. Bring your hands back to your heart. And again, offering yourself gratitude for this practice, for spending that time with yourself. And we'll dedicate the merit of your practice today to yourself, helping you to move forward with the rest of your day. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you, Lisa. Everybody here now? Whoops. I hope everyone here has had the experience of seeing a beautiful piece of needlework, like needlepoint. It has a gorgeous picture, and you put them on pillows and tapestries and what have you. And you see, let's say, a gorgeous bouquet of flowers. But if you turn it over, you just see this jumble of threads. Everybody know what I'm talking about? It's just like, it doesn't look like anything. It just looks like a huge mess. So what has manifested is something that has taken individual form and shape that we can recognize. But what constructed it and what created it was very, very complicated and interwoven and interconnected and all tied together. Well, today's talk is going to be a little bit like that. I'm going to try to pull together several different threads of the Dharma and hope that they form a tapestry or a needlepoint, something recognizable. Because there's so much to it, and we take it in bits and pieces. So I want to try and bring this around. And the first thing I want to talk about is that 2 days ago, December 8th, was the day recognized by Buddhists around the world as Bodhi Day, which is the celebration of his enlightenment sitting under the Bodhi tree. Actually, nobody knows what the date was. It said that it was in springtime. But along the way, in 2,600 years, they changed the calendars from solar to lunar, and things all got... That's the day, anyway. So, all right, so we have the celebration, just as we have other celebrations in the month of December. So we have that. And then we have what we've been studying, which is the Eightfold Path and mindfulness. And the first of the 4 foundations of mindfulness as taught by the Buddha, and that's the 5 hindrances. So we got a celebration, we've got a teaching, we have all these things we're going to try and come together at one time. It occurred to me when I was preparing the talk, something that I have never read, never heard from a teacher, that the 5 hindrances that we have studied this last few weeks are identical to the 5 temptations that the Buddha was assailed with by Mara, the lord of the underworld. They're in exact order that he presents them later in his teaching on mindfulness. Now, the Buddha came with his enlightenment to offer it to all of us to do with as we will and as well as we can. And it has been serving humanity now, as I say, for 2,600 years. Does it deliver? This is other things we're going to pull in our intentions and how we make judgments. So as we go, we'll try and touch on these. And I may, as I say, this is a lot for me, and I'm not that dexterous. But I have brought for Jeff to read to us the first sentence on the 4 foundations of mindfulness. For the 4th foundation, which is what we've been studying, the 5 hindrances. Now, why he started with something to get rid of rather than to take on, we'll discuss afterwards. But I just want to impress with you how important the Buddha thought mindfulness was in our everyday life and what it offered to us to contemplate and to practice it. So listen carefully to what he says. This is better than any salesman I ever heard. Here he goes.
I'm good. You can keep it. I'll just speak up.
All right.
The Blessed One said this. This is the direct path for the purification of beings, for the overcoming of sorrow and lamentation, for the disappearance of pain and distress, for the attainment of the right method, and for the realization of unbinding. In other words, the 4 frames of reference.
All right, the Buddha came to conquer suffering. And this is the direct path to his enlightenment, to his experience. As I say, he starts this. The 4 foundations are body, sensory awareness, all of the 5 senses plus your mind. That's the second one. The third one is your mind. And remember that in Buddhism, mind and emotion are the same. Mind and heart are one word. And the 4th is a little different. It's less physical. It is the Dharmas themselves. Now, the first, this is referring to meditation, when you sit in meditation. The first hindrance that we talked about was sensory desire and pleasures. The first temptation when the Buddha sat down and had the effrontery to say, I am sitting here until I am enlightened. I want the truth, and the universe should give me the truth. And the Lord of the underworld, which of course is a mind state, came to him, and the first thing he did was be really nice. And he offered him, if he would simply give up this quest, all the worldly pleasures, even his own 3 beautiful daughters, Maras. And they attempted to seduce him, and he just sat there. His mind was steady. So that didn't work too well. So the second hindrance is ill will, anger, violence, hatred, that sort of thing. And so this one now, Mara, there are several others, but these are the main ones. Mara said, okay, if you're not going to play nice, I'm just going to kill you. And so he brought out his hordes of demons, all with bows and arrows. And they all lined up and they all shot their arrows at the Buddha. And as the arrows entered the Buddha's space, they dropped to the ground as flowers. This is the power and the protection of loving kindness, of love. It's impenetrable when it's totally established. And that's the second hindrance. And the antidote we learn to the second hindrance is loving kindness. The third one we love so much, is sloth and torpor. And here again, the Buddha had been sitting for days and days and days, and he was almost starved to death at that point. And he felt very heavy. And he had to overcome that by his willpower. He didn't have any water to splash on his face, as he advises us to do, and other things. And then he was beset by intense restlessness, and he did not move. He stayed with it. And he waited for it to arise and go away. And the fifth hindrance, which is the one I'm talking about today, is the most insidious, actually the most dangerous to each and every one of us in our own personal lives, because it's baked in, as we say now, to, bug just went up my nose. I'm going to sneeze in a minute. It's baked into our actual daily life. And this hindrance is doubt. Doubt. Now we're going to go back. We're going to go back to the third noble truth, which is we know that life can be unsatisfactory. That's number one. Number two, we know what the causes are: craving, grasping, clinging, delusion, and ignorance. And the third one says, the Buddha says, but there's a way out of all of this, because we can control our minds. And the pain we feel physically, we may not be able to do much about it. But most all of suffering is not pain-oriented. It comes from our minds. It's psychological. We create our own suffering in our minds. Now, he says, you can change your mind. You have free will. You have choice. And if you can do that, then you can overcome that suffering. Okay? What happens with choice? You have to make a decision. And what happens when you make a decision? You're not sure, really, in real time, whether you made the right choice. So the shadow side of being able to get rid of suffering is that you're never 100% sure or guaranteed that you've done the right thing. And here is where we have a split in the value of doubt. Doubt, on the one hand, is a good thing. It's healthy skepticism. It's inquiry. You may have noticed, going back another thread, when we did mindfulness for mindfulness-based stress reduction, the first of the qualities is that John Kabat-Zinn talks about is beginner's mind. Beginner's mind is the open mind of wonder and of interest and of inquiry. And it asks questions and it wants answers. That is a healthy questioning. Doubt, on the other hand, that's a whole different thing. Take one example: worry. You know people who worry? Worry is unresolved uncertainty. What if? Should I? What will? And it goes round and round and round. And it can actually be the way people describe it. She was sick with worry. It can affect us physically. So it's not a good thing. And there are so many other things. The choice part is one thing. I keep being reminded of the last couple of lines of Robert Frost's poem. 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood, and I chose the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. We make choices, and then we have doubts often. Should I have taken the other road? What would have happened? How would my life have been different if I'd done this instead of that? So this is doubt. And the question is, what do we do about it? The other thing I think about, doubt, it can actually be murderous. Everybody here read Othello when you were in high school? And Iago, who is probably the poster child of all villains, plants that seed of doubt in Othello's mind that his wife is unfaithful. And by the time the play ends, Cassio is dead, Rodriguez is dead. They didn't have anything to do with any of it. They just got accused. Desdemona, his beautiful wife, is dead.
No, that was Hamlet.
No, Hamlet's to be or not to be.
No, Desdemona was a figure in Hamlet, not Othello.
No,
Yeah.
Othello is the play,
Yeah.
and Desdemona is Othello's wife.
Oh, I thought Desdemona was Hamlet's. Anyway.
No, that's, what is her name? She drowns.
That's Desdemona. Ophelia!
That's
You're
Ophelia.
right. I'm sorry. My mistake.
All right.
I'm
Well,
sorry.
we doubt. we have every right to doubt. But
It was
anyway,
healthy. She's calling it healthy skepticism.
Okay, yeah.
but yeah, that's healthy skepticism.
You're right,
Check it
Desdemona.
out. But it brings back these threads of things that we have to deal with. I don't want to talk politics, and I'm going to say this. We are living at a time where we have, particularly if you're American, U.S. citizen, or person from there, this morality play being played out in real time of division, to divide and conquer, to dominate, to control everything, to be totalitarian. And it is done by propaganda that plants seeds of doubt until people do not trust their institutions. And they don't trust, for example, the press. They don't trust each other. And this person says, don't pay attention to anything anybody else tells you. Only listen to me. It's a rather horrifying spectacle to watch. And we're seeing it. All these things from 2,600 years ago, they're very real. And you have to decide somewhere along the line, what do we do about this? For myself, how do I deal with doubt? Well, the very first thing we do is create the intentions. And the 3 intentions that the Buddha said everybody had to have. The first one was renunciation, letting go. Letting go. The second one was goodwill, that we love people. And the third one, which just flew out of my head, we'll get to in a minute, but those 2 will do. Now, the Buddha, or one of his disciples, or somebody along the way in Buddhism, said, look, you've got these 5 hindrances, and the Buddha says, before you even start down the Eightfold Path, start with the hindrances. You don't have to gain something to begin with. You have to lose something. You have to let go of things. You must renounce these things that are poisoning your life or that are causing your suffering. and you take them apart. So you're going to get rid of them. And the three ways that you judge in Buddhism, you now apply that. There's another thread. The first is to be honest with yourself and ask yourself, is it skillful? Is it going to get rid of this hindrance? And remember that skillfulness in the Buddhist sense, also the word also means virtuous. So this is not being a skillful bank robber or murderer. It's being skillful in a good way. Okay, so you ask, is it skillful? And then you say, is it healthy? Is it wholesome? Is it going to hurt me in any way, physically? Okay? Alcohol may dull the pain of the suffering, but it's hurting me. So it's not a wholesome way. So now we've got to look for some other way. And the third way we judge, skillful, wholesome, is it beneficial to myself and to all others? It's no good if you're the only one that benefits at someone else's expense. So now you have your intentions. You have your method of checking it out. And you come to the interesting point about this is judgment, but to be mindful is to be aware, attentive, alert in the present moment, non-judgmentally. So now you've been given a little job to do. On a conditioned or relative level, we must judge all the time. We judge this, that, and the other thing. But on an ultimate or absolute level, when we sit down to be mindful, or even if we're not sitting down to be mindful, we let go of all our pre-conditioned thoughts. We may have decided, I'll never find love. It's not true. Who knows, you might. Maybe you will. Maybe you will. Don't make that judgment about yourself. Here's doubt. Going back to doubt. I told you we'd be running around a little bit. Going back to doubt. Doubt can be manipulated. The bad kind of doubt, not the good kind of doubt. The bad kind of doubt can be used to manipulate people the way Iago did. Or we're talking about playing out on the world stage right now. Or an even worse kind is the second kind, and that's self-doubt. I'm not good enough. I'll never be able to do this, etc., 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 blah, blah, blah. We've all heard it. This is the way doubt manages to control our minds. It whispers to us. It doesn't come shouting. We talk about the worm of doubt. It infiltrates. And what happens is once it's created, we know now, one neural pathway. Once it's managed to make its appearance once, it's easier to make it a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time, until really, if you think you're no good, you're convinced you're no good. So we need to be very honest, very aware and alert. And this word bodhi, like Buddha, means awake. The Buddha was the man who woke up. He realized this whole scenario. And when he did, by the way, on that night, that he sat there night after night after night, did you check out that 49 days?
I couldn't find it.
Okay. Maybe someone knows. But anyway, he sat there and his mind stayed steady. And after Mara had done everything else he could do with the arrows, the seductions, and anything else, he finally went to the big deal, which was doubt. And he says, Siddhartha, who the hell do you think you are to take on me? Do you know who I am? Do you know how powerful I am? And the Buddha didn't respond. And he said, show me evidence. Bring me a witness to the fact that you have the right to realize the truth. And the Buddha took his hand. This is the story. And you'll see many statues of him doing this. He put his hand and he said the first words, the earth is my witness. And when he did, the earth began to shake and shudder. And it was horrifying. It was like apparently they were having an earthquake. And Mara and his demons, when he could not create doubt, he dissolved. He disappeared. He went back to the hell he came from, wherever that might be. And the Buddha sat there through the night without speaking, in full samadhi or complete concentrated meditation. And when he opened his eyes in the morning, there was a morning star, and he was at peace. But before he was at peace, now I've got to back up again. When Mara took off and gave up, the Buddha drove him away with a lion's roar. And you will see that written down a number of times. So at the moment he said, the earth is my witness, and gave a lion's roar, that drove away. And he was realized. But it was not until he opened his eyes and he saw the morning star at dawn that he was fully enlightened. And that's what we celebrate. But it's why we meditate without judgment. It's why we stay steady as much as possible. It's very important to try and keep clarity of mind, because it is right, going back to what we were saying a minute ago about people that are engaged in this scenario that's going on worldwide. When they are totally convinced of something that is not true, it's very painful to watch that, because you can't reach them. So we all have to reach ourselves. We all have to sit down and look at all of these things. So Jeff and I were talking. I'm going on here. Jeff and I were talking about how similar these things are to, we both come from Protestant Christian backgrounds. The Buddha went through 3 watches of the night in which he evolved in his enlightenment. He saw all his past lives. He saw the way the physics work in the universe, etc. The tree is important, and for the Bodhi Day, which we just had, for the celebration, which happens to last for 30 days, we have the tree as a symbol, because, of course, he became enlightened under the Bodhi tree. So if you happen to have a Christmas tree, if that's part of your tradition, you can put a little Buddha underneath him along with the creche, and they both are there. Christ went through a long period of self-doubt and nights of watch, right? So there are lots of universal stories here. But it all ends up with one word in Buddhism: bodhicitta, awakened heart. The awakened heart. This is about love, and love is not some sloppy, sentimental, life is like a box of chocolates type of love. This is truly creative power in our own lives that says you can control your own mind, and if you don't, someone else will. So there we are. Can we throw this open for conversation? I've probably forgotten 20 things here today.
Oh, no, you did a lot.
But-
That's a lot.
But doubt is really something I think we all deal with it, you know? So anyway, I'm sorry, take it back.
Okay.
I turn it over to the psychologist.
Any comments, questions, thoughts as you listen today? Speak up, because then our friends on the teleprompter can hear.
Right. So, new here. But the one
Welcome.
thing, there's a lot of what you just said that resonated with me. One thing that has been really close to me since moving here over the past 2 to 3 months has been the whole concept of not being able to introduce nurturing positive things into your life without eliminating things that are not serving you first. That's something that I've been learning quite a bit as of late. I came from a background of workaholic, state, and working 6-7 days a week and 12-15 hours a day away from my family, and trying to bring nutrition into that, trying to bring exercise into that, mindfulness into that. And the comparison or analogy that I've come up with since moving here is that it's like having a glass full of alcohol or poison or something and trying to pour vegetable juice into that. It's just spilling over the top.
Right.
And, and I've noticed that the key to me making any changes since moving here, which I have made and I'm grateful for, is making space for those changes to be successful.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
really,
what renunciation does. When you chuck something out, you've got space for something to move in.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the analogies in Buddhism that you might find amusing is that it's that the hindrances, if you don't throw them overboard when you get started on the path, we don't start on the path acquiring things. We start by getting rid of them. But the Buddha or someone in the Buddhist thing said, this is like learning to row a boat, getting a boat, working really hard to row, and then discovering that you never untied the boat from the dock. You're not going to make any progress until you get rid of the junk. Yeah, of whatever kind it is. Very nice thoughts, Brad. I think everyone here will tell you that they've had to cope with the same thing, right? Everybody's had to cope with
Right. So those of you, Brad was talking about the need that he's had in his first months here in Costa Rica, of letting go of things in order to fill up again.
Mm-hmm.
I worked in treatment, and what was really interesting is you had to get rid of the drugs before you could start working recovery.
Mm-hmm.
But the cleansing of that, and sometimes it took for sure a month, where your system needed to be cleansed of the influence of the latest drug that you had taken, and those things. And then at that point, you kind of began filling. It's like you had to empty the bowl of the poison, so that now you can fill it with the clear water, which is what the Buddha used as an illustration of these hindrances.
Give that illustration again.
We've done this for 5 weeks. Is that I don't know if I can memorize all 5 of them. Maybe you can help me. But these hindrances are compared with a bowl with water in it, and the sensory pleasure is like
pouring dye into
the water. So you can't
Right.
see
You
things
can't
clearly.
see
You
your
can't see
reflection.
yourself clearly. You can't see life clearly. You can't meditate clearly. The second one of
ill
ill will is like
poison.
is like it. I thought is
Is
it
that
poison?
poison?
I thought it was mud maybe.
No, that's doubt.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, it's clouding up the bowl. The sloth and torpor.
Ill will
Go ahead.
is like boiling water.
Oh yes, ill will is like
Ah.
boiling the water, and so now you can't see because of all these bubbles in the clear water. And then sloth and torpor is like algae in the water. Now you have green water in front of you because it's still and not has no movement to it. And that restlessness is like waves going over the top of the water. Like the wind comes and takes the waves, and now you can't see clearly either. And then ill will is mud.
You're stuck. What happens
Doubt,
with
doubt, excuse me.
doubt? What happens with doubt?
Thank you.
It stops everything. It's as if you're going forward, you're making progress, and you get to a fork in the road, and you stop. Doubt causes us to stop moving, making progress.
Mm-hmm.
I love those. They really give a visualization. I did forget one very important thing, which is the Buddhist antidote to all of this. There are 5 steps. Doubt is the only one that has trouble with the 5 steps because you can't get rid of it. But for the other 4, you can literally eliminate them. The first step, as with everything, is awareness. This is what I was talking about checking it out and being honest. Be aware. The way it's expressed is when the hindrance arises, know that it has arisen. Label it. Okay?
Your hand open.
Mm-hmm. That's right. But so that's the first one. The second one is really interesting. That is, once you know the hindrance has arisen, imagine what it would be like or what it has been like when you were not afflicted with it. How did it feel when you didn't worry? This is where we can begin to cultivate, is with the remembrance or the imagination of what it is like to be rid of that hindrance. The third one is to have an honest appraisal of the causes of it. The fourth is to create a strategy for yourself to deal with it. And the fifth is to figure out, and this is the one that's difficult because you can't overcome it, how to prevent it from arising again. You can do that with ill will.
Sorry.
That's okay. You can do that with ill will. You can learn how to turn to a loving kindness meditation and just stop it right there in its tracks. But doubt, because it is the shadow hand in hand associate of uncertainty, which is choice, you can't ever fully be rid of it. You really have to learn to deal with it. I'm sorry, I'm doing too much talking. There you go.
No, that's good.
But I forgot that's important.
Mark, go ahead.
So, one of the things that I use project.
Yeah.
One of the things that I like to share when I'm doing these teachings in the 40 days and stuff is imagine that you are hungry and you are given a beautiful bowl of salad. And you look at the beautiful bowl of salad and you say to yourself, wow, that's amazing. And the person presents it to you and you can see the water glistening off it. Everything looks wonderful. You're hungry. It smells good. You pick up your fork. And the person who presents it to you says, I hope you don't mind, but the bowl contained a lot of fecal matter in it before I put the salad in. But it's okay because I cleaned the bowl. And the question is now, what do you do? And this is that doubt that you're talking about.
Uh-huh.
If I eat the salad, have I transcended my doubt? or have I given up on my values? Because if I'm so hungry that I go, I don't care, I have to eat, I'll eat the salad anyway, I might be denying myself that healthy doubt that says, this is not a healthy scenario. Or, who knows, maybe it could be the other way, probably won't be me, but would be, maybe there's nothing wrong with the salad. But what I actually do in this particular moment when I'm sitting in front of that bowl is I now look at it and say, where am I and who am I in this situation and what is managing me?
Decisions.
Yeah, but what is the doubt doing to me? If it's healthy doubt, I might push the bowl away and say...
Why do you think the kings used to have a taster? Just basically what you're talking about. Watch him eat it and wait half an hour. And if nothing happens to him, okay, I'll eat it.
Just like the vaccine.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening with the vaccine for a lot of people.
Right?
That's really true.
Which the taster said, all of my meals were really amazing until that last one.
and maybe the taster just made it up to keep him from eating it. You know, who knows? But anybody else? I can't see you, so Jeff.
John,
there you are.
Yeah, I'm trying to put myself in the position of somebody who finds it impossible to eliminate doubt. That what is it that causes them to cling to doubt? And it seems to be, number one, it's a lot of work.
Yes, it is a lot of work.
And number two, it's predicated on the notion that you are in some way responsible for the doubt. Those are two pretty big hurdles.
That's huge.
And people almost
and it's every
grasp
day.
on to doubt as an excuse for not doing anything. Like we know somebody who
My mother.
is.
I give up.
I didn't say that.
We all know, right?
But
She does this, but I know somebody else who does this. They have pain.
Lots of us do this.
Imagine they have pain. They go to the doctor prescribes something for them. They actually go and buy it. And the first thing they do is look at the slip, write down the side effects. Say, I can't take that. I don't want these side effects. And that's the story. So they're choosing to blame it on other things, and they're not taking responsibility.
Well, I think blame is a big part of this, don't you? We look for an outside source when really it came from the inside.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's all going
Always.
into
It's the easiest first step.
Divide and conquer kind of feeling that we sometimes have about society. But that's a really hard thing if somebody feels they're a victim to take responsibility for and resolve their doubt.
That's a huge word, victim. The minute somebody says, somebody might actually be a victim. I mean, that happens. A guy comes out and hits you in the head with a tire iron. You're a victim. But
go ahead, Lisa.
Just what John was saying, it's reminded me that I think many people have a doubt about themselves, that they're valuable or worthy or that kind of thing. And so if you make a decision and it doesn't work out how you were hoping it would, that somehow that is related to your value. That it means that you're, whatever, not a good being of some kind. And I think maybe the goal would be to recognize that none of what happens anywhere has anything to do with your value as your soul, as your inner being. It's they're just things that occur. So not taking it so personally when a decision doesn't go as you like. And so that takes some of the pain out of it, and the weight of it. And lets it just be a thing, and you're still good.
People that do good work with that are unflappable. Doesn't matter what happens around them; they're still good. That doesn't mean that they're steady and they're balanced and their foundation is solid. All of these spiritual leaders talked about foundations. That's why we did the foundations of Buddhism as the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. Without that foundation and without looking at these hindrances, then all the other things are like windows in the second floor. But you can't live in a window in the second floor. You have to live with the foundation and equanimity and balance, and these practices by which you have to empty the bowl before you fill it back with pure water, the pure water that is you, and that is the life you've been given, and that is available in this moment.
All of these things I said to begin with, like the needlework, the Eightfold Path, the 2 steps of wisdom, the 3 steps of ethics and morality, the 3 steps of meditation, these all stitch in. And we literally create our own lives from the Noble Truths, from whatever you call them. You can call them different things. But that's why I say it's an interesting topic, because everything comes into play here. And each of us individually has to figure out how we create our life with it, how we go with it. Now, I think your time is coming. Do we have time for a loving kindness meditation?
We do.
Everybody want to? All right.
This is filling the bowl. The
Okay.
loving kindness meditation is filling the empty bowl.
Please get comfortable. Let's take a moment and stretch. Everybody, just give it a good stretch and a shake, because we've been sitting a long time. And with full realization that love is the truth at the heart of creation, not destruction. That's something else. So the stronger the love, the more enlightened we are on the path. And we have a practice called loving kindness. It's one of the 4 Brahma Viharas, which mean the highest abodes where we live in our lives. The 4 highest places from which to live day by day are called Brahma Viharas, elevated abodes. And they are loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity, that everything must be in balance. But we go to our cushions, our seats, or wherever we are. We tried to be mindful all day long. When we drove our car, we kept our hands on the wheels and on the wheel, and our eyes on the road, etc. But when we sit down to be with ourselves, we can remember that the Buddha told us unequivocally that there is no one in this entire world that is more worthy of love than ourselves. And once we establish that, throw out the doubts, not in an egotistical way, but in a creative way. Then it ripples out from there and the bowl clears. But Brad, this is a practice of loving kindness, also called metta or maitri. You're going to choose 5 people. Yourself to begin with, which I just covered. Someone you love. The 3rd person is someone with whom you're acquainted, but you're not at all close. The 4th is someone with whom you are in conflict. And the 5th is all sentient beings. You are moving out from self a little bit farther and farther and farther with goodwill. Also called unconditional friendliness. You don't have to call it love. If that word makes some people uncomfortable, but just friendliness. So get settled, take a couple of deep breaths into yourself. I'm going to give you a phrase, Brad, and then we repeat it afterwards to ourselves. beginning with yourself. May I be well. May no harm come to me. May I live with ease. That bread is equanimity. Calm and peaceful. May I be happy. And now bring to mind someone you love very much. Imagine their face. Look at them. Smile at them. And say, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. And now we bring to mind a neutral person. You may not know his or her name. If that's the case, simply address them as friend. May you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. And now we wave goodbye to them. And we take another deep breath and we bring to mind someone with whom we are in conflict. They either don't like us or we don't like them, or the feeling is mutual. Without any malice or animosity at all, say to that person whose face you brought to mind, look at them directly and say, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. Take another deep breath. Let it go. And imagine all 8 billion people on this planet. Imagine all the worlds out there with who knows how many worlds and sentient beings there are. But simply by virtue of being alive, without regard to anything else, we put our hands on our hearts and we say, may all beings everywhere, on this plane and all other planes, be well. May all beings everywhere be safe. May all beings everywhere be free from suffering. May all beings everywhere be happy. We release our hands. And to conclude today, I will say, go in peace. Go making peace. living gently, loving mightily, and bowing to the mysteries. Thank you all for coming. It's been a joy. We love you.
Thank you, Ruthie. Good job.